Well, it seems like if it was my goal to get into his head, it worked out pretty well.
What's up, everyone? Shakiel Mahjouri here for CBS Sports, and you know who this is. He is the reigning, defending, undisputed UFC middleweight champion, defending the title against Israel Adesanya at UFC 305 on Saturday. Dricus du Plessis, how are you?
Oh, man, I am really good, Shakiel. Good to talk to you again.
Yes, nice to see you, my friend. Now, we have so much to talk to and so little time, but before we do, I was reading up on you a little bit. Is it true that you're a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire fan?
I'm a massive Who Wants to Be a Millionaire fan.
Now, I am notoriously horrible at trivia, so you can be honest with me. How far do you actually think you'd make it in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Well, I have to be honest with you. Like, I've played it. I've never won completely fairly, won the million. But in like a group of 3 or 4, I've been the team leader in terms of the questions, and we've got to the million. But yeah, would I get to the million? I'm not 100% sure. I would give it a 70% chance.
I don't think I'd make it past like the third question, so congratulations to you. You're a better man than I am.
Well, I mean, it's almost like anything that there's a big difference in liking something and being good at it. And a lot of time people mistake those two things because, yeah, I love it. How good I'm at it, isn't necessarily a good reflection, but I do love it.
I love MMA. I will not be challenging you in sparring anytime soon, Dricus. Now,
at least you're being very, you're being true to yourself. You're not lying to yourself. You know what it's about.
I appreciate that. I was just reflecting on, I think the last time we talked was before the Robert Whittaker fight. And there were a lot of people counting you out at the time, saying Rob's too well-rounded, Dricus may be too sloppy. And clearly, not only was that perception incorrect, but I think that perception has changed a lot. I am curious, what do you think people have misunderstood the most about your style?
That's a very good question. And yes, I think the biggest misconception, and it is changing, it should be, because in the beginning people were just like, this guy is just, falling around, throwing shots, sloppy. And now people are going, oh, look how he's stepping with his foot. And people are breaking down my style and saying how smart it is. And a lot of those things, I go, what are you talking about? I don't even think about that. People are going, oh, look how he's planned, he steps inside with his foot, then outside. And I go, what? No, that wasn't, no. They try to scientifically break this down and going how technical it is. It's not at all. It's a fight. And but I think the biggest that's why I said it was such a good question. Up until now with people, it was awkward and weird, which it is because it's a new style, just like jiu-jitsu was when it came into the UFC, was a complete new style. It was weird when Lyoto Machida came in with his stance and he did the crane kick. That was weird. The start, everything was weird because it was new. And my style, we've always looked at fighting and going, well, this guy is good, but if he had this stance a bit more, it would have been better. If he throws a shot. So my style doesn't just come from me being weird and awkward and having no balance. It's something that obviously there's always room for improvement, but it's something that we've over the years developed this style. And I think it's a superior style. And well, I mean, that's why I'm middleweight champion of the world. The big thing, the misconception is people don't realize that I know exactly what I'm doing. So any style can be very effective if you're in control of it. You get guys that fight. If I fight a karate stance, it's probably not going to end up that great for me because it's not my style. But if you look at a karate stance, Connor, how great he's at it. So any style, if you are 100% in control of that style, that's it. If you know exactly what you're doing and why you are doing it, not just doing it because your coach told you to, but understanding why you are doing the things you do, that is what makes a style effective, and that's what makes a fighter effective. And everything I do, even though it looks like chaos, and it is chaos, that's what I go out there to do, is to create the chaos. Everything I do is calculated, and I know exactly what I'm doing in my mind.
I was watching back the 305 on sale press conference with you and Izzy, and while it doesn't seem like you guys are best friends, I would say the atmosphere, at least from my end, seemed a lot less contentious than when you two faced off after your Whittaker win, and even the headlines surrounding the fight now don't seem quite as intense as they were back then. How would you sort of gauge the dynamic between you and Izzy now relative to how it was when you had that face-off?
Yeah, I think, well, obviously he was very fired up of that face-off, and the reason why he reacted the way he did and he behaved like an absolute clown in that octagon when we faced off with after the Whittaker fight was because he watched me fight Whittaker and beat him better than he did, and I think he was 100% a fight or flight response from him. He was like, okay, this is a real, this is, and you know. He kind of made himself look like a fool then, but obviously he went back, looked at the footage, told himself, and hopefully the people around him told him, like, you look like a complete jackass, like, don't do that again. And he changed it. So you can see he's been trained to not lose his cool, but that all goes out the window once fight happens. When that round comes, and it's changed because we know it's around the corner. I mean, anything that's being said right now, anything that's going to be leading up to the fight makes no difference. In 9 days, we are going to get into that ring. We're going to get into that octagon. Doors going to close, and we are going to go to war. And all the talking will be done, and it's going to be spectacular.
Do you feel like you're in Izzy's head right now? And I guess more importantly, do you think that'll have an impact on fight night?
To be quite honest with you, if I'm in his head, I can't tell you. He feels the energy, I can tell you that much. My energy is, and that's what I said, and I actually said it earlier, that I don't know. I made the statement that his fire is gone, and I don't believe that. I think the fire is still there. I just believe my fire is just... No, he has his fire is insignificant to mine. The passion, the fire that I have in me, the passion burning is overshadowing his, and that's why I can't even see his fire. And I can't feel it because the fire burning inside me is so intense. So, I mean, to go out there and do what you do, go through a whole camp, you need fire. You need some sort of fire. But, going out there the way I'm that's fire. It's going to be, you can't even compare the two. So I think if I think I'm in his head, maybe not, but I do know he's in his own head. That's for sure.
Are we going to keep growing out the mustache for fight night?
That's hilarious. The first guy that actually noticed it, I did it this morning for the first time. My girlfriend was here, and coaches arrived yesterday and the team, and I was like, cool. As I just trimmed my beard, I was like, oh wow! And I looked for I've never had a mustache in my whole life, and I just left it to shock my girlfriend. I woke her up and I was like, "Hey, look at this!" And especially being in Australia, everybody has a mustache in here. Mm-hmm. Everybody in Australia has a mustache, and so, I mean, I'm probably not going to fight with this. I don't think my mom and dad's going to like it at all, and but I'm definitely going to rock it for a day or two.
Okay, I like it. Never say I don't break news or I can't find breaking scoops.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Coach hasn't seen it, so I honestly think he's going to lose his shit when he sees this.
I like it.
And I'll probably force to take it off anyway.
This is last thing on Izzy before we move on to a couple other middleweight things that we'll let you go here. And this is really the only time I want to bring back up the whole African champion thing, and only because I saw an interview very recently from one of Izzy's coaches, Michael Angove, who said that he believes you brought up that statement just to get into Izzy's head as a calculated thing. Was that at all in your attempt, an effort by you to get Izzy's attention, or is it strictly you proclaiming, I am the first champion who lives and trains out of Africa?
Well, it seems like if it was my goal to get into his head, it worked out pretty well, because the fact that they say it, but that wasn't at all what I was doing. But now I know how they think of it. But no, it wasn't. So if you look at history books now in terms of MMA, am I the first residing African champion in the history of the sport?
Yes.
If you had to answer that question. Yes,
Yes.
I am indeed, right? Okay, so my statement was 100% true. And back then it wasn't true, but it was what I said. I want to be the first champion that was born, lives, trained, breathes the African air champion in the UFC. That's what I said. And right now, like I said, if you look at the books, that is a fact. I wasn't trying to get into his head, but obviously it wasn't that hard to get into his head. But yeah, I mean, it was never the intention. This whole thing blew up. Remember, this thing blew up like, I think maybe 3 or 4 weeks after I said it. I never said it that. I said it just like I said my goal was to be a middleweight champion, then be a double division champion, being the greatest of all time. Oh, and being the first born, residing, and living, training African champion. It was part of my goals. And well, I mean, I don't care if it's got taken out of context. I honestly don't give a shit. But it was obviously 100%. Anybody with this sensible person could tell you that, exactly what I meant and what I said. But yeah, it seems like obviously it triggered him, and yeah, good for that. I'm happy I got a double whammy on that.
Well, yeah, I know it comes up a lot. Thank you for adding some context to this new wrinkle. If you could only drive one for the rest of your life, motorcycles or cars, which one are you keeping?
Cars. I'm a car guy. I'm a massive car fan. Love both, ride both, but cars are I'm a very passionate car guy.
Maybe a little safer on the cars too, so if you got to split the difference there. Hey, I was looking at when I talk about the cars and the motorcycles and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, that's shout out to Alex B, who does those Humanizing Athletes piece. He asks everyone who their favorite fighters are, and you apparently said that your favorite fighter is Dricus du Plessis. Can you break down for me why you are your favorite fighter?
So, do I have to say Dricus du Plessis? Or can I say any fighter?
On his sheet that you apparently filled out at the time, Dricus du Plessis was...
Yeah. So, why am I my favorite fighter?
Yeah.
Because, listen, if I'm going to support someone, I'm going to support myself.
Fair enough.
So that is a big one because I look at guys, and that being said, I mean, every person should love themselves, before you can love anybody else, and you have to love yourself and have that confidence and believe in what you're doing. Or at least I do that. I believe in what I'm doing, and I do what I believe, and I go out and I set goals and I try and do everything possible. I think that is, having that self-love is very important. But in honesty, if I look at favorite fighters, I have to, a guy like Anderson Silva even a guy like Mirko Krokop. I came from K1. Back then, when his videos were probably the first guy that I followed. Well, not even followed, because I didn't have any access to fights when I was 15, 16 years old. Just watching Mirko Krokop was one of the coolest things. His highlight reels, and of course, then when I started getting more access, Anderson Silva has been in my opinion, one of the great. I tell you, don't take away that John Jones for now. He is the GOAT. Yeah, but Anderson Silva, when it comes to middleweights, the way he did it, the fashion he did it in, for me as a young teenager, he was absolutely everything, and a big inspiration to why I followed this dream. And then as we came along, Conor McGregor came on the scene. I was already a professional then, and regardless of what he's doing now, people are always giving him so much shit for like the way he's living his life. I'm like, leave the guy alone. He can do whatever he wants. The amount of work this guy has put in to get where he is, people are just jealous, in my opinion. This guy has made so much money. He's achieved everything. He was a double division champion. He looked so good doing it, made it look easy. So whatever happens now, he has that legacy. He made this sport 2-3 times as big as it's ever been. And that was, he single-handedly did that. So, he was a massive inspiration just in terms of what is possible, opening your mind up to, because he was the first guy in the UFC to become a double division champion simultaneously. I never even, when I was still fighting locally, I never even comprehended, even thought of that until he did it. And then, it was after he did it, was months 4 or 5 months and I was a double division champion. And everybody, you see people in promotions, you almost see that it is possible. So just his mindset of abundance, firstly, appreciation, and you can do whatever you set your mind to. That's so everybody has these attributes. And then you have so many fighters to look up to. You look at a guy like John Jones over all these years being so consistent in terms of just winning fights, regardless of how his camp was. Maybe he was partying, maybe he wasn't. He's had camps where he wasn't partying and he looked good, and then he had camps where he was partying and he looked phenomenal. Everybody has these attributes. He knows how to win and be a champion. So everybody has. There's so many fighters that I look up to in the UFC, whether current or former. It's there's more than enough to choose from when it comes to inspiration.
Well, Dricus, I didn't expect such a thoughtful or detailed answer, but I really appreciate it. I know I've kept you long, so this will be the last one. I'll let you go, my friend. Just because I had a lot of people asking me to sort of pass on the message to you. Obviously, we have Izzy ahead of us, but the middleweight division is still kind of in flux. I am curious, which of these two guys do you think has a better claim for the next title shot should you beat Izzy? Strickland coming off the decision loss to you and the split decision loss to you and a win over Costa, or Whittaker coming off 2 consecutive wins? I know he has Chimaev now, but I'm curious how you'd sort of
right now, I think it's Strickland. Well, I don't know.
That's a fun one, huh?
Whittaker does after 2 wins. Strickland shouldn't have been there in the first place. He got it by default and then proved that he deserves to be there. So that's amazing. And it wasn't a split decision, crazy call. It wasn't a split. It was 100% unanimous in my opinion. But the winner of Khamzat and Whittaker is going to get the title shot. That's going to happen. Strickland says he's going to wait until he gets the title shot. He's going to wait for quite a while, in my opinion. He's going to wait for a while. I can't see the UFC not. If Whittaker beats Khamzat, 3-5 wins, he's 100% getting a title shot. The UFC has been wanting to give Khamzat a title shot since his debut. Mm-hmm. So maybe if it's a draw, Khamzat will still get the title shot, in my opinion. But let's see if he makes it to the fight. And after that, but more deserving, I mean, both of them making a case. Whittaker, being more active, getting those wins, and Strickland, when we fought, it was a close fight, so a hard contested close fight. So both of them making a case. But like I said, for me, it's about the fight the fans want to see. Which one's going to be the biggest fight? Which fight is the one that the fans think is going to be the best fight? I want to fight the best guy in the world every single time. So that's gonna be my answer. It honestly makes no difference to me who steps in there.
Last one, because I always love to talk about some of my shared experiences in South Africa over the times I've visited. I'm trying to cut down for the summer a bit, a lot of jerky in my diet, but eating beef jerky just makes me miss Biltong. What's the best kind of meat for
Biltong? South African Biltong. I actually have my own Biltong brand.
Hey.
Stonelocks Biltong in South Africa and in America and in the United States. And you can order it from the website in the United States as well. So it's produced in the US.
Okay.
And then we have the Biltong in South Africa as well. I mean, such a, especially with a sport guy, rugby, Biltong beer, that's once you've had Biltong, I almost, when you compare Biltong and jerky, it's 2 completely different things. It doesn't even taste like it's in the same category. It's amazing, but I'm glad you like it. Spread the gospel, man. That's awesome.
Yes, well, I'll actually be driving to the U.S. next week from Canada, so I might just hit up my buddy who I'm meeting up with and tell him to
you'll be getting
a delivery of Biltong. Good shit. DDP, I want to leave you with the last word. So if there's anything you want to tell people ahead of your title defense against Adesanya at UFC 305, the floor is yours.
My guys, everybody all over the world, those booing, those cheering, thank you for the noise, and thank you for supporting or hating. Thank you for loving the sport that I love and being incredible. It's without the fans, without the haters, there wouldn't be a sport. So we appreciate you and thank you for just making this whole life decision, everything worth it. It's been amazing.